town email. You didn't, sounds like you didn't get that. The second email I sent you, I was careful to send it to the town email, and then that got kicked back. And then, I sent it on purpose, unlike the first email. That one I sent on purpose. I don't get it. I don't see how that could even happen from my end, because usually it's if there's a problem with recognizing somebody else's email, and I made very sure it was complete. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's a mystery to me. I guess I'm going to have to talk to Jamie and see what we can figure out.
You know, since we're not on air yet, you know that firefighters thing that came up, where we have to pay time and a half, and we had paid time for comp time?
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, and I want to tell you, the idea that it hadn't been run by the labor attorney, I don't think that would have made any difference. These attorneys don't tell us this is a lousy clause, oppose it. They just look for things to see if it's in legal form or not. Otherwise, they don't really advise or even highlight anything to us. They just make sure it doesn't conflict with statute and is in proper legal form. So the fact that it hadn't been run by a labor attorney is as lawyers will say, it's a distinction without a difference.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know whether or not it would have been flagged or not. I understand what you're saying. I think, an attorney who sees a lot of contracts of similar intent, may read language and say, might jump out at them as kind of unusual because it's, something that distinguishes this contract from others where it would have been more common to see time and a half. But you're right. I mean, policy decisions, an attorney, is not going to advise or push in terms of what the policy should be. They're just going to tell you whether or not the policy you want to pursue is a legal one.
And this happened one time. I don't have to name the attorney, but I had actually pointed something out once to an attorney at a meeting, which the town had agreed to, which was a terrible agreement. It's I can get into the details, but I won't. And that attorney told me flat out, we don't give financial advice, only legal advice. And that pretty much said it. They don't care if it's a bad deal, good deal, just as if it conforms to statute, or not a conflict with statute, and conforms to legalese.
I think they will.
That's our job, to make sure it's a good deal for the town. That's our job.
I think they will indicate to us what the costs might be, or what the unexpected costs might be, and then it's our decision to determine whether we want to pay that money or not.
It takes more than that. We have to be alerted to it in the first place. And by the way, Mayor, again, I don't mean to start, the meeting needs to start here momentarily, but that particular firefighter thing, that came to us for approval on at the end of September of 2019. And just for the record, for your information, that was not on Derek's watch. That was 2.5 months after he had left. Just saying.
All right. Negotiation, and our labor attorney, when he saw it, was said he would have alarmed us about it. So it was his doing.
That's good to know. When that contract comes up.
May I suggest you guys give each other a phone call if you'd like to have an argument about something that's not on our agenda?
Sorry.
No, that's all right. It's all right. Okay, so I do not believe that Al is able to come attend. So but we do have a quorum, unfortunately, without Al. So we'll call to order at 6:03. Charmaine or Ryan, any public comments or anyone waiting to comment?
Not for this special or this committee meeting, no.
Okay. Then we have the minutes, Ben.
I moved to. Can you hear me?
Now we can.
You were cutting out.
Sorry, I moved to approve.
Okay, and, I guess, second, and, any changes or anything, Ben?
No.
Okay, I don't either, so, we both vote in favor. Approved.
Yes.
Okay, and I absolutely, I skipped over staff reports. Do we have any staff reports for me?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Then the next item on the agenda is a discussion on the Mansfield, Community Center Silver Sneakers. And Jay O'Keefe?
Peter,
Yes.
just quickly, just so you know, and everyone knows on the call, I have to step away for a couple minutes at 6:30. So please feel free to continue. If we are voting on anything, you'll just have to wait for me to get back. It shouldn't be more than a couple minutes, but I'm going to need to step away at 6:30.
Okay, thanks for the heads up. Jay, go ahead, and I'll apologize for calling you Todd last week.
Oh, I didn't hear the Todd reference.
But in any event, thank you both. Thank you for being here today. So why don't you go ahead?
Okay,
Oh, go ahead. No.
I wanted to let folks know too that Kim Rotney is on with us. Kim is our member service coordinator and is very close to the Silver Sneakers and all our members, of course. And so I wanted her to be included. There's Kim. What I wanted to do is, if I can do the screen share with you without too much of a delay, I'll run through some, maybe some recap a little bit, but also some different things that we've been thinking about and things that we were supposed to have followed through on since the last time we met.
Okay.
Was back in August. So I'll try to cruise right through that, and certainly we can double back to that. But I'll try to move that through quickly so we can at least have some basic information. I suppose if there's questions along the way, people can stop me too. Moment here.
And then can you later make these slides available? We'll just put them, make them available as part of the minutes for the next time. Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jay.
I'm clicking, but because I'm not running the meeting, I need to be given permission, I guess, to.
I think
Who is
that's
running the
Ryan.
meeting?
Ryan, is that you?
It must not be me because my list of drop-down options is far more limited than normal. So is IT the host? Who's actually hosting this meeting?
Not me. I just checked.
Also, is the meeting being recorded? I don't see the little recording icon going.
Okay, we can get that started. Interesting.
Now the recording is started. Maybe you want to reintroduce the meeting?
Yes, I will. So this is the Monday, April 12th meeting of the Finance Committee, which meets at its regularly scheduled meeting. We came to order at 6:03. There were no public comments, or nor was there anyone waiting to testify. We approved the minutes and are now about to have a discussion with Jay O'Keefe and Kimberly. I'm sorry, Rotney. I'm sorry, but I can't read my hand, but I can see your screen.
Yes.
Sorry about that. On the Silver Sneakers program and the financial effects.
Jay, I suppose one option, if I'm able to share my screen, if you're looking to share the Word document, Jay, I can pull that up and you can just tell me when to move on if that's the document.
Sure.
Ryan, I think you can shift your screen sharing to Jay, I think.
Well, yeah, see, normally, like under options, I would do drop down and I could just say make one of the attendees a presenter, but right now I'm only seeing two options in my drop down.
Okay.
That seems to be the issue. I'm not sure why but Jay, is that the document that you want to pull up?
Yes, that would be the one. So I'll get a hard copy here, or go ahead. Actually, I'll see it when it comes up.
Okay.
Okay, we have 2 pages up there. I'm not sure if folks can see that? I'm going to try to.
If I do 100% view on one page, it'll work a little better here.
If anyone who's watching, you can also use the GoToMeeting app to magnify the screen for your own self.
Okay.
So just on the first page here, it's just sort of a little recap of where we've come from in terms of where Silver Sneakers started. And just as a reminder, you know, Silver Sneakers 2014 was my understanding back then, and being involved with those discussions on whether we should entertain Silver Sneakers or not, was based on a lot of different things, but one of them being on there wasn't too much. There was a little bit of interest from the community, but we figured it might be a small kind of bump to the membership, maybe a couple hundred people, and so we engaged in that endeavor at that time. It grew to, as you know, about 467 folks in 2017. 2018 was when the big change came with the state retirement plan, among probably additional interest too, but that was a big change where we saw a flip from a large number of our paying members going into the Silver Sneaker option that they had available through them. These are folks, again, typically in a retirement, Medicare health plan. We had some discussions, as I recall, from last summer, coming up with some identifying challenges and some solutions. We came back and did some sharing of some action plans or goals, and the committee had asked us to refine that some, recognizing that COVID was among us and had major influence over our ability to maybe do some of those priority initiatives. Nonetheless, we selected 3 or 4 of those that we could potentially do during COVID influence. And then we also have some that we did post-COVID. So we did some work on that, and I'll share those as we go along. We go on to the next page. This is a little bit of a recap or continuation of the work that was done when Kurt was here. Just showing you again the growth of the Silver Sneaker memberships, starting back in 2014 through 2018, as I mentioned, where that flip kind of occurs into 2019 numbers. And 2019, I believe we were at in 2019 we were at about 1,500 Silver Sneaker folks. I know it's hard to see on those graphs exactly where those lines line up. Now that 20 and 21s, I should note that although you're seeing a large, even further jump in terms of how you look at the graph, of course, what's happened there with the paying memberships in blue is that that's when COVID hit and influenced our membership, and we had a lot of cancellations and such. So the graph is a little bit more dramatic, but the pace is kind of similar to what we had seen in previous years up to 2019. We go down to the next slide. Just a recap on what plans are accepted by MCC in terms of alternative type of insurance-based programs. So of course, we have the Silver Sneakers, which is our largest, and then we have there's a select what they call Silver Sneakers Prime. We don't have too many folks with that, and Kim may be able to speak to that. I think we might have around 30, but it's a low number. It's kind of a Cadillac of insurance plans, because if you're 18 or older, you can partake in that. Renew Active is a growth area for us. This is something that we had hoped would grow even larger, because we have about 300 in this area now. We started out with about 100 the first year, I think, if I recall right. Nonetheless, they swipe one time and they receive a $20 immediately. The community center will get $20 when we get reimbursed at the end of the month, but we can't get additionally anything more than that. It's $20 for one. There's no additional revenue for it.
Jay, just one question. I think just to clarify, so these amounts, the 30-month cap, $30 month cap, $20 max, those are not set by us, correct? If we accept the program, are they set by the program?
They are set by the program. I want to say we went from 250 or 275 in 2014, and there was a jump somewhere in there. It's been a number of years. We have not had much success with renegotiations with Silver Sneakers, but they set the price, although we try to negotiate with them.
Okay, thank you.
We can go on to the next one. This is just a little recap. I won't spend too much time here unless folks have additional questions. I think we're pretty well aware of the pros and cons. We try to collect the majority of them there just as relate to serve as a reminder. But maybe a couple quick financial things to point out. Obviously, there's a lot of pros for our folks to have this membership. I mean, it keeps our active and our older adults healthy and engaged with, socially. On the financial side, we have some challenges, of course. We can't collect joiner fees. We have to offer free classes that we have to pay instructors for. It costs about $14,000 a year. And of course, our average reimbursement rate is $84 a person, when typically we could take in about $401 for an annual individual membership. So there's some quick recaps there. We can move on. This is going back to, I believe, June or so of last year when Bert had done quite a lengthy, we had done a survey of our membership, and then also Bert had put together some different plans with staff on some options. And you probably recall these options. The one in bold, I believe, was the one that got the most focused, was to try to increase Silver Sneaker visits by once per month. An estimated gain of nearly 60,000. That was based on a number of 1,635 members. So with that, it's my understanding that the Finance Committee would like us again to initially prioritize the 3 to 4 priority initiatives. Target group is really mainly on the lower use members, but it could be on any of the members. And if you can go down a little bit, Ryan. From that, we came up with those goals or initiatives. These are measurable. I'm not showing you the whole measurable spreadsheet that I have. I'm welcome to share that at some point with folks or forward it, but we do have a pretty detailed way of trying to measure these. But basically, we said, all right, it's our priority initiatives or goals will look a little different than this, and I'll show those in a moment. But given we would like to try to do some work towards making some progress with increased attendance, but what can we do that would take some baby steps towards that while we were under the blanket of COVID-19? So these goals that you're seeing: increase awareness of benefits and Silver Sneaker programming and services to Silver Sneaker members. We've done a Silver Sneaker monthly newsletter that Kim has been putting together. We created a pamphlet. We call it 55 and over services. And although we are always pretty active on Facebook, we've made an additional effort to do that. We also reached out in terms of goal 2. We reached out by phone calls and follow-up emails to try to gain insight from our low-use members. We started with to find out what kind of barriers, why perhaps it was difficult for them to get here more, their interests or needs, etc. Monthly follow-up emails has been part of that, but I might pause here a second and let Kim just speak to this. She led this charge and give you some decent information about how that goal went to date.
Yes, so we did survey those folks that were low use in January and February of 2020, so right before the pandemic hit. So our efforts here were designed to find out why they weren't coming and what we could do to help them feel more confident in coming into the center. Unfortunately, part of this being that it was in COVID, it ended up being that folks were very COVID focused. So we have not been doing the monthly follow-up emails. because all the responses we were getting, even though we would redirect to the question or re-ask the question, kept being, well, I'm not coming in because of COVID. I'm not comfortable because of COVID. So we still do have a plan in place to follow up with the same survey again, and also do it through email, not just phone. We did get some decent information out of folks. Primarily, people were indicating that medical issues and time were big challenges for them. But again, there was so much fear while we were doing this about coming into a fitness center that we weren't getting the results that we wanted at the time, or the feedback that we really felt that we needed. So this will require some additional follow-up once we're on the other side of this.
So then the third goal here, to gain further insight to establish criteria, what we would call a viable or active Silver Sneaker member. So this is something, again, that Kim is very heavily involved in. But basically the idea here was we had this number of 1635 for Silver Sneaker members. I believe we had this discussion a little bit last summer. We said, okay, we do have the 1635 number, which fluctuates, of course, a little bit. But you really, once you become a Silver Sneaker member, you don't really ever unbecome a Silver Sneaker member. So, for example, if I'm someone who was pretty active, but then maybe had a medical condition or I don't drive anymore, or whatever the situation might be, they continue to be an active member up until the time that we were looking at this last summer. So what we're trying to do was really work with Silver Sneakers Activity, the third party caretaker of this program, and look at, can we come up with something that we can agree on, that if someone hasn't been in for X amount of months, or can we really kind of deactivate them out of our system, because it kind of paints a different picture for us if we're not sure exactly how many people are coming in and the frequency of that. Is that a pretty good recap, Kim, of what we're trying to do there?
Yes.
So that's something that we have been working on. Kim has narrowed that number down with, and has been given some guidance by Silver Sneakers Certivia. And we do have a new number that we have not slid in. We'll reference this as we come up with some other things. So we'll go down. I can't see 4 and 5, so I need to go down there. Thank you. So what else could we control during kind of the COVID blanket? Well, we had talked about trying to decrease that $14,000 number that we pay for instructors, because we are mandated to have free classes with this program. And so we've chipped away at that. We probably haven't quite reached 50%, but I think we're between 35 and 40. We've done that by having our recreation supervisor, who's in charge of our health and fitness area, Jessica Tracy, is teaching some of those classes. And we are trying to replace contracted instructors with employee instructors. There's about a $25 per hour difference there. The trouble with, sometimes the challenge with that is people have gotten very attached to our contracted instructors, and some of our contracted instructors also are personal trainers, and there is some crossover value to having them involved. So we've treaded carefully with that. Outside of, we did have an instructor that left, and we filled that in immediately with our full-time staff person. So we are still chipping away at that one. And then exploring the pros and cons of a multi-level membership, with Silver Sneakers being at the most basic level. That is something we haven't done a ton of work with, but it's really something that we've been batting around. And do we want to entertain the idea of, this is what some facilities have done and run into challenges with Silver Sneakers. I've talked to across the country. There's been a couple of folks out in the Midwest that have created, because they were losing so much revenue, they created a tier system with Silver Sneakers being a very basic membership, and they limited their hours and access, and then they ramped up tiers from there. It's something to maybe consider.
Jay, is there nothing as far as our contract goes that precludes us from limiting, access in that way? Like, is the spirit of the thing not that if you're a Silver Sneakers member, you basically have full, rights or privileges that a full member would?
So Kim can jump in here as well. My understanding of reading that, and again, I'm not, this is definitely something maybe to put on there to explore, but pros and cons of this. But to answer your question, they don't define what a basic membership is, but once the facility defines it, is my understanding, is they have to have access. So, for example, if we said a basic membership is Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., but they would still have full access to the center, swimming pool and gymnasium and track and all that. So I think what some facilities have done is tweak the hours a little bit rather than making it 5:30 to 8, for example. They've refined that some. I'm not sure how much impact that may have for us in our resident, our area here, but that was one thing that's been done. I don't think too many folks have done that, but it is something that some people have tried.
Okay, can I ask something?
Then post-COVID, Kim had
Jay, just for a sec. This is probably a natural stopping point just for a quick second, just for questions. And Ben, and also Ben stepped away, but he'll be right back. David?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm listening to this very closely, and I remember all the work that you did and Kimberly did, and the great presentation you made last July at the Finance Committee meeting. And I remember you presented, following exhaustive analysis of the questionnaire. At the time, yes, you had the 1,635 members. As far as a lot of people not showing up, that was captured by the fact that as a result of your analysis, you estimated that 28% I think it was, said they would stay and pay full membership, and that we would come out $45,000 ahead. Now, I realize the numbers change and it's hard to estimate, but, I guess my question is, what would be the purpose then, considering those numbers and those estimates? What is the purpose for continuing this program?
David, just to clarify, you mean to continue Silver Snake?
Oh, yes, continue the Silver Sneakers program. What have we got to lose by ending it? If anything, we'd probably come out ahead, and we wouldn't have all this angst in dealing with the insurance and what be done with it. And according to your own analysis, we probably will come out a little bit ahead. So what's the justification, or what would be anybody's reason for wanting to continue with the Silver Sneakers program?
Well, I think as you'll see here, David, that there's some additional options that we've looked at since that time as well. But to answer your question, it is, there's pros and cons. People have grown used to that. We have people in the community that have that benefit. We do service a clientele there that some folks maybe wouldn't be able to afford a membership. Others certainly could. But there's pros and cons to it. I think there's also, a risk there in terms of, I'm not saying it has to be a risk that paralyzes us from making a different decision, but it certainly is something we have to pay attention to, the percentage of people that may leave and go other places in the area and how that may impact us. But we've looked at that, as you referenced. So I think maybe entertaining some of these other options that are coming up too, and then we can maybe circle back to that question, might be helpful.
I mean, I think it's worth a full, a discussion, certainly. And also an understanding of what other community, whatever peer group that community centers, whatever peer group we're in, what they're doing with Silver Sneakers, both in terms of, how to make it work for them financially, as well as dropping it and what the consequences for those groups have been if they've done so. But let's go ahead. I think that's the right thing to bookmark for next discussion.
Yeah, and I do have some information on that, Peter. I'll be happy to share in terms of talking with some colleagues, and it does vary in what's happened with those programs. So then there's focus here. We're working with Kim and Ryan on possible options for senior discounts. Could we, as was referenced, discontinue the Silver Sneaker program, but replace it with perhaps some discounts. So there's a lot of numbers coming up here, but what we're trying to express here is we use what we thought was a more refined number. this 1082, which is what we think is about what our true active kind of member is for Silver Sneakers. Taking into consideration the survey, which said about 28%, we rounded that to 30 and said, okay, if we had discounts of 50% for residents, it's 50% off, or 25% off for non-residents, well, what might that situation look like if, only 30% of the Silver Sneaker members, existing members, remain with us? And you see those numbers there. And then we go into a 40% option.
I'm sorry, Jay, sorry to interrupt again, but just in terms of understanding, so the estimated revenue loss, for example, of 25,000, that's based off of what? I mean, is that in addition to what, current projections are we're losing, or is that based on, what are we comparing that to?
So that's
25,000 is a lot less than we're paying, losing now, and that would be a real gain. Or do you mean? Go ahead.
So a few variables there. It was we took the percentage. We have about a 60% non-resident and 40% resident is who are engaged in Silver Sneakers. So we used that. We looked at a individual membership rate that they would have to pay, typically would be paid, and we discounted it from there. So, for example, a resident would be $401 if they weren't Silver Sneakers for an individual annual. We rounded to $200, and then went from there. We also talked about removing the instructor expenses, and also estimating a small percentage. I think, believe about 20% of those folks taking a paid class, and we added that revenue in for the year. So it's very similar to what Kurt had, and then the deduction was, yes, maybe to answer your question, is we then reduced what I believe was 130,000, 37,000 number, which is what we made in the end of 2019, I believe was the number that we took in. So we minus that out from these discounted savings. Does that make sense? I'm
not, well, I guess the question is, well, it may make sense to everyone. So I'm not necessarily.
Well, may not.
No. So when we say, I guess 25,000, what's the reference point? 25,000 off less than what?
So that would be
Silver Sneaker
less than what was projected at, less than what we made in 2019. That did not.
Silver Sneakers.
Yes.
Right. Now, does any of this take into account, and of course it would be even more of an estimate, the presumably positive effects on revenue of people who, since we don't have Silver Sneakers, can provide, joined for full membership? Because that's what we're hoping to get too. If we eliminate Silver Sneakers, we hope some people, well, we hope everyone, but that's not going to happen. But we hope some people will come back to be members, regular members, for lack of a better term.
So this scenario, just to make sure we're all on the same page, the projections that Jay has pulled together here, ranging from a most conservative scenario of 30% Silver Sneaker members remain to a most optimistic scenario of 60% remain. All of these projections are assuming some level of discount for seniors. So within each of these, there's one projection is a 50% discount for residents and a 25% discount for non-residents, and the others 25 and 15. So this is all these projections are sort of focused around seniors, and if we offered some sort of a senior discount, these revenues, for the purposes of discussion, Peter, don't assume any full member paying seniors. Every senior, regardless of their situation, socioeconomic status, whatever, would get some level of a discount, either 50% down to 15%, depending on what sort of scenario we went with.
So when we say, for example, under 40%, and an estimated revenue gain of 45,000. That's a revenue gain over what?
Over the
Again,
2019 Silver Sneakers revenue.
Okay, overall for the center or for the Silver Sneaker program?
Silver, in comparison to Silver Sneaker program.
Comparison rather, okay.
Yeah.
And so,
Alright.
as Ryan referenced there too, which is a good reminder, we had to factor in numbers of X amount of people who are full paying right now, but are going to immediately jump to a senior discount if we were to potentially do something like this and open it up to all seniors, and then we're going to have people moving from full pay to their 50% off or 25% off or whatever the situation is. So we had to factor that into.
Can I play something?
Okay, thank you. But Dave, do you have a question? Otherwise, I want to move on.
Me?
Yeah, do you have a question, David? Or,
No, I'd like to make a comment. Being, shall we say,
well,
Okay.
David, for right now, let's just try to stick with with this questions, and then we can make comments at the end of it.
I am sticking to this question. This has to do with the senior discount. I'm a senior, and I'm against the idea. Just because you're a senior doesn't mean you're poor. Some of these people are actually pretty well off. I know them. They're retired professors, and they're on the state health plan as retired professors, and they're very well off. I don't expect a discount at Walmart because of my age. People there are, financial straits. What makes me deserve a discount? If you want to give a break to people, it could be it would be based on the fact that they're poor. If they have some kind of demonstrated card that they're on SSI or they're living in affordable, qualified for a housing voucher, whatever it is criteria you want, but it shouldn't be age based. Some of these people are very well off.
So let me just,
I like the scenario that was done last July, which
David, I'm sorry. I want to go through, that's an important point, but right now we're just going through their presentation. And, if we have questions about like the numbers or something, let's get to the merits of various things later. Because I do want them to go to.
We were talking numbers about senior discounts and numbers of people, so I was on the topic, but okay, I won't talk anymore if that's.
Oh, no, you're on the topic. That's more of a policy discussion rather than questions on the presentation. Go ahead, Jay.
So Ryan, you want to skip down a little bit? I think as Ryan pointed out, we're basically through that continuum of options, that range of options from a 30% remain to a 60% remain, and at the highest level, as Ryan pointed out, 25% off resident rate or 15% off non-resident. We have estimated a gain of 123. That's assuming that many folks stay, of course. The surveys pointed out to be 30, but that was based off of, or 28, that was based off of, no discount, just paying full price. In these situations, there's some discount here. So could those numbers be shifted higher for retainment? There's also the factor of people say something in a survey. If I'm given the option to save money, I'm going to say, yep, I'm going to save some money, maybe. But when it comes right down to it, and it's either leave or stay, what do I really do? It's hard to predict that, but it's I think a true human nature kind of thing. I think that might be getting down toward it. And a couple other things at the bottom was just talking about, can we try to negotiate, which we haven't had much success, but we haven't introduced a cap on Silver Sneaker memberships. Is that something that could be entertained? And obviously, entertaining a higher rate. We haven't had moved the needle much on that. And as has been pointed out, discontinuing the program altogether with nothing to replace this was something that's been talked about throughout. We're not forgetting that option. We're just trying to point out some additional possibilities here.
Okay. Tony, go ahead.
I have a question. One of the things about the Silver Sneakers program is that the classes are free. And regular community center classes have a fee associated with them. Have you included the calculations about costs and benefits, including the fact that now people will have to pay for classes? Or are you suggesting you offer classes for free to seniors?
No, we included a conservative number in there for folks that would have to pay for classes based on some percentages that we had, how many members take classes now, and what that average rate of pay is, or rate of revenue is per class. Per season.
Including the number of people who sign up for Silver Sneakers classes?
Yes. Yes. So,
Okay.
Let me just ask a couple, to step back because that begs the questions. Now, who are we, when you say negotiate, who are we negotiating with on reimbursement rates for Silver Sneakers?
So it's Tivity. I have never been directly involved with those conversations, but it's with Tivity. I know I've spoken to Kurt about this in the past, and last time we tried, of course, COVID was here, so they weren't budging on anything. But that's what we're not dealing directly with, an insurance company. We're dealing with a third party that helps manage this program for them.
So that's what I was going to ask. So Tivity is a third party manager, and
Correct.
Now when you talk about insurers, you mean Medicare supplement insurers, or who?
Yeah, I mean, it's a Medicaid program. It's my understanding. But we only deal with Tivity. We don't deal with anyone beyond that. I don't know. Kim, I don't think you've ever reached out to connect with anyone else.
No, yeah, we deal directly with Tivity, and then they have the connection to the insurance companies.
And the insurers, the names are fine too. But these are insurers providing Medicare supplement policies, or? Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
So if we said we're just not going to, regardless of what other discounts you might put in place, if we say we're going to drop the Silver Sneaker program, what's the competition? Where else can they go for Silver Sneakers? Are there comparable facilities they can just drive 5 miles further, for example?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, there are facilities very close proximity to here, such as Future Fitness, and UConn has that option now at the rec center. The Bubble or Star Hill. Kim probably knows a couple others, but also the Ys. Now the Ys get a little bit further out. So you have the Ellington Y and you have the Putnam Y. So you got the Hale Y over there in Putnam, and I guess Indian Valley and Ellington. So I believe the Eastbrook Mall Fitness, I'm not sure they have that option, although I'm not 100% confident. And Wyndham, although I don't know yet what they're going to be doing there. Been trying to get in touch with those colleagues recently about what their plans are as they build their, I don't think quite as large of a fitness area, but certainly have fitness classrooms and some limited fitness equipment there.
So in other words, there's a decent number of facilities around here that offer Silver Sneakers.
Correct.
All right, so they could go. And are their reimbursement rates, can those centers be identical to ours, or are they individually negotiated?
My understanding is that they're individually negotiated. So in that, as you could probably expect, someone like a YMCA, for example, in talking to some colleagues, I haven't gotten a number, but I hear that they definitely is a much higher rate of return. I've gotten some numbers of $6 or $7, thrown out there. I don't know if I can back that up, but that's in general conversations with, that's what I'm hearing. And then you come down to this other facilities like ours, and we have very little leverage,
So Jay, it certainly seems that if we were seriously exploring the possibility of discontinuing Silver Sneakers in favor of going to something else, whatever that something is, whether it's, full freight memberships for everybody or some sort of a discount program, it sounds like that it would be worth our while to, tell the third party Tivity our intentions and use that as leverage to see what sort of, better offer they would give us. We'd have nothing to lose at that point.
I believe so. I mean, they have told us, that we are the largest group, have the largest group of Silver Sneakers folks in the area. They won't tell us what that number is in comparison to others, but they've emphasized that with us. So I got to believe, just like any negotiation you're in, if you have some type of leverage, they could say, well, they got other places to go to in the area. We're fine. We're going to hold our price. Or they could say that's a concern for them, getting complaints, etc. But I think it only helps us.
So we don't know specifically what the reimbursement rates are for the surrounding facilities like the health center, the rec center at UConn or Future Fitness.
I don't at this time. We can try to push those. It's a little, probably the rec center at UConn would be more engaged with those conversations. As you can probably think, our competitors may not want to release that.
But
I have some calls into the Wise to try to see if I can get something locally, if anybody will crack or be comfortable sharing that with me.
Tony?
Peter, the majority of our Silver Sneakers members are state employees who come to us with the insurance programs that have been negotiated by the state for these programs. The other agencies may have people who are coming from other insurance programs other than the one negotiated by the state. In the past, we have been told that there was no negotiation, that the rates were set as part of the collective bargaining agreement with CBAC and around the health care coverage. I think that before we hypothesize about whether these are negotiable or not, that somebody do some real inquiries. And I would start with the comptroller's office. To tell you the truth, they do the negotiations. And if anybody wants, I can either Ben or I have contacts in the comptroller's office. We could easily begin the discussions there to find out whether, in fact, there are negotiations available. But I think that's the first question: who sets this rate, and who do we talk to? And I don't believe that we've done that in the past. I really feel very strongly about this, that we have to figure this out.
Yeah, that's where the questions were going. Jay or Kimberly, any comments on that? Or
No, I think any information we can obtain are obviously very useful. So does it sound like that's something that you would provide the contact info for us, or you would want to make that initial connection with UConn?
I know with the comptroller's office.
With the comptroller's office.
I'm sorry, comptroller's office. Yes.
At the state level. If you tell me you would like me to do that, I can do that. Or
I think it would be a good idea. We do need to know more about the parameters, both of what we can negotiate, as well as, we're not even sure if that's where most of our members, are coming, Silver Sneaker members are coming from, although it certainly makes sense that would be there. I think that information would be, useful.
I think it probably would make sense for the mayor and I. After tonight, we can have she and I can talk. We'll figure out the best point of entry for this particular discussion.
Oh, with the comptroller?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Certainly, leveraging her contacts would be helpful. We'll figure out a game plan for how we want to approach it.
They're fairly open. They're I think fairly easy to deal with. Although I think Tony has more experience than I do with them. But
and there's another direction too, and that is with the union negotiators.
Well, yeah, but that's more. We want to sort of know. Yeah, we want to know what the legal parameters are in terms, or at least what the comptroller's office thinks they are for our agreements. I think so. Ben, just to catch up. All right. Going to talk to the comptroller's office. We wanted to find out more about where do these rates come from, and what, if any, bargaining authority ability rather do we have. And Jay and Kimberly have given us an excellent start in terms of talking about particularly the competition and the varying rates. And so this will be an important, one step more to see what we can do.
Yeah, I think it's worth pursuing, but it's not something we ought to bank the future of the program on.
Nope. So I know we don't have much more time, but I don't want to, Jay and Kimberly, are there other things that you want to make sure we discuss tonight?
Well, I'll just add, I know, we have been talking with colleagues, it's tough to find similar facilities like ours in the area. So you end up sometimes going, further out into other regions of the US and stuff to get a little bit of info.
Okay.
And I have heard and I'll come back to some more local stuff in a second here, but that people have had some success. There's a facility out in Tennessee. It's a community-based facility. It's not a chain. It's a town-run facility. And he has had success with them and being very aggressively going after every year, kind of relentlessly, with a whole spreadsheet plan and basically saying, this is what we need. Our costs are going up. Our staffing is going up, et cetera, et cetera. And he has had some success. I think he might be around the $5 number or so. It's not like they're getting 10, 11 bucks a swipe. But, and then Ridgefield was working with that director recently, and they looked very carefully at Silver Sneakers. They did not have the program. They analyzed it 2 years ago, and they're very concerned about what would happen if their full paying members and X percent went to Silver Sneakers based on what he had done with his research and talking about some of the struggles facilities like ours have had, and trying to recapture that revenue. And so they opted away from that. And their stance was...
By away from that, you mean away from what?
Oh, I'm sorry. They never engaged in Silver Sneakers. So they had interest from the community. They were getting pushed from the community to some degree. They looked into it. The committee looked at it. The Recreation Committee with Finance Committee, I believe, and they decided not a good move for that community, because they were concerned about losing full paying revenue and having to rely solely on a very low percentage return based on swipes for the month. And so other facilities, there's another one like ours up in Concord, Mass. They don't have Silver Sneakers. It's hard to find, similar facilities like ours right around this area, but that's why I'm trying to talk with the Ys and see if they'll share some info with me, see what happens there.
So I imagine you guys, whether it's a trade association or professional association, I don't know any group, and lawyers are notorious for this, that don't have multiple trade associations, if nothing else, to have a February meeting in Florida. But it was pre-COVID. But is that? Are we members? Do we be in the community center members of these groups? And because that can be an easy way to find information, on matters of common interest.
Yes, I meant to mention that too. National Park and Rec Association. We have a online listserv, communication that we can gather information from, and so we can certainly craft something to send out to that group and see what kind of feedback we get.
I know we don't have much time, Ben.
Yeah, I think this is all really good work, and I think I said this at the budget meeting last week, but the pandemic in a weird way sort of bought us some time in that we've, finally got federal relief coming to cover the loss that the community center has sustained over the last year, and moving forward into this year. And that means that any strategy that you would have tried to put in force during the pandemic was not going to make a big impact. But once we get out on the other side of this, you've had time to plan and time to figure out how to make the program work. I think the council's been pretty clear that if we want, if we have $100,000 a year to subsidize senior services at the community center, that the better use of that is to find seniors who are in more need of health and wellness services than those who have pretty generous retirement plans. And so if on one hand if we can make the numbers work, let's make the numbers work and get the program going and get more people through the doors. But if it's just something that's not going to work for us because of how the program is set up, then we ought to take that funding at the very least and reinvest it into a way to subsidize more, people who are more needy, having access to the services that the town offers. But again, like, the council shouldn't be micromanaging how you figure out how to do that. It should be setting a direction for you and, checking in to make sure that we're on that direction. I think tonight showed that you guys are pretty serious about it and have a number of things in mind that could have a real impact once people sort of en masse become comfortable going to fitness centers again, which, is hopefully going to be in a couple, month or 2, 3. And so I'm looking forward to seeing results after the community centers utilization rates get back in the more normal range. And I hope that's sooner rather than later, and that we can start thinking about whether these things are working to get more Silver Sneakers folks through the doors to make the program financially stable.
I think with that, we need to go. Jay and Kimberly, thank you very much. I do want to give the last word though to Charmaine, who's been very, I don't want to run through other items you want to place on the agenda for the future. Any last comments?
No, I mean, other than to simply say that we as the town, i.e. Jay and company, are service providers. So yes, it's a benefit that has been negotiated at the state level as a retirement offering, but that should not have any real bearing on what our cost share is as a facility who provides a service in accordance with that benefit. So we're going to have to lean in, I guess is the best way to put it, to try and renegotiate. And I think this conversation has been helpful in knowing, how much support we have from council on being able to leverage the